Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden. Welcome to a late night Tuesday stream where we're going to be solving some Code Wars code katas and then also playing some Clash of Code. Welcome in, everyone. To callers, thank you for that resub. Shouts out to the She-Boss with the 10 gifted before stream even started. I appreciate you, the She-Boss. And Murdoch with the 39-month tier 2 resub. Appreciate you as well. Mike PDX with the 2 months. And Decallers with that 17-month resub. Appreciate you all. Welcome in. Good to see you all. It's evening, so not as many people get to tune in at this time, which is great because it's a nice intimate crowd. I also have a beer, so cheers to everyone. We're going to be drinking beers and solving problems. So if you're not familiar with it, Code Wars. Yeah, so I guess for some people it's the morning. For me, it's 8 p.m. It's 20 o'clock if you're on European time. So it's okay that I'm drinking a beer. Yeah. So this is an Imperial Bout Time Double India Pale Ale. So it's a double IPA from Four Noses Brewing Company. I got it from a liquor store like a week ago, and it's pretty good. It's 9% alcohol, 9% ABV, so it's pretty up there. But excuse me, drinking beers and solving problems. And Default GN, thank you for the prime. But yeah, let me tell you about Code Wars. So if you haven't heard of this website, this is a place where you can practice solving coding problems, and they have a range of difficulty. And they're user submitted. So usually what I like to do is I like to sort by most completed. You could also sort by popularity or positive feedback. Basically, because these are user submitted problems, some of them don't have very good problem descriptions, or some of them don't have very good test suites. So I try to find the ones that most people have completed, which probably means the descriptions are pretty good. You can use many different programming languages. I'm going to start off with JavaScript today. But if someone reminds me, at a certain point, I'll spin a wheel and pick and solve it with another programming language. And I am choosing katas that I have not trained on. So this is only showing me problems that I've never seen before on this website. And then you can also choose the difficulty. So the difficulty is kind of in reverse. So 8Q are the easiest problems, and 1Q are the hardest problems. So I've been programming for at least 15 years at this point, and sometimes 1Q problems will literally take me days to solve. So they can get very, very hard. 8Q is very introductory, but if you're a beginner programmer, this is a great place to start. I would filter by 8Q and then just try to start solving some of these problems. So we're going to start easy, but I'm also going to do my best to explain my solution and also solve the solution in multiple ways. So you can kind of see a bunch of different ways to solve the problem. So yeah, I'm going to do some code katas first, and then after that, we will play Clash of Code. So Clash of Code allows us to solve coding problems competitively. So basically, we all get dropped into the same room, and then a timer starts, and we all have to solve the same problem. But the issue with Clash of Code, at least you couldn't last time. I think maybe you still can't. Yeah, you can't choose the difficulty level. So it's a wide range. Sometimes these are really easy, sometimes they're really hard, but we'll do those in probably 20, 30 minutes. Let's write some code. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to see you. What is Samwise doing? It keeps doing the info command, doesn't it? Honestly, let me just turn it off. There aren't many people here today. Let me just go into Streamlabs and turn that off. It's repeating itself with the... Oh, you're totally right. Honestly, that must be a Streamlabs bug then, because it says just subscribed, and then it says subscribe with Twitch Prime. But yeah, let me turn off the timers in Cloudbot, because those also seem a little bit annoying. Yeah, you're special. You get 2 messages. All right, let's jump right into it. So if you're a beginner programmer, you should mostly be able to follow along. Feel free to ask questions. I'll do my best to answer them. And then also, you could try to solve it. So I'm going to just choose the first one that it made available to me. Keep up the hoop. Alex just got a new hula hoop. He loves it, but feels discouraged because his little brother is better than him. Write a program where Alex can input in how many times the hoop goes round and will return him an encouraging message. So if Alex gets 10 or more loops, return the string. Great. Now move on to tricks. If he doesn't get 10 hoops, return the string. Keep at it until you get it. So this is going to be pretty simple. It's like one single conditional, I think, if I understand the problem correctly. But yeah, thank you, Alka. Thanks for that link. But if you want to try to solve this at the same time, click that link. Give it a solve. Here we go. So one thing you can do is, so you're going to write your code here in this little box, and down here you can see the tests that they run. So we have two example tests. So when they pass in the number 3, we see keep at it until you get it. And if they pass in the number 11, it says great, now move on to tricks. So basically it's just a little conditional here. And yeah, I guess I'll bring this code down locally. Typically what I like to do is I'll bring it down and solve it locally. Just so I can solve it multiple times and we have all of the solutions in one spot. I'm trying to find Alka's code pin that lets us get the... Do you have it handy, Alka? The code pin that gives us the info about a Code Wars kata? Did I find it? I think I found it. Cool. Oh, okay, that's it. I got it. Great. So I just do that so that way I can have a file that has that exact name. Cool. So we have this function hoop count that takes in, and then we have two different tests that test the output. But I'm just going to change these to console.logs so we can see the output. And then I'm going to start up Quokka, which I haven't started in a very long time. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, so right now, our function is returning undefined because it's not returning anything. So we have to actually write the code. And I mean, this should be pretty simple. Basically, we just have to say if in is greater than or equal to 10, then we return this bit of text right here. Otherwise, we return keep at it until you get it. It's as simple as that. So this is a very beginner problem, but I am going to show you multiple ways to solve it. Now, why is this complaining? Oh, I just lost all of my code. That's okay. We'll do it again because it's simple enough. So if in is less than or equal to 10, or no, greater than or equal to 10, then we will return great, move on to new tricks. And if it's not, we will return keep at it until you get it. It's as simple as that. Cool. So now we should see, if we start up Quokka again, when they pass in 3, we're going to return keep at it until you get it. And then when they pass in 11, we return great. Now move on to new tricks. And what's up, Mr. Demon Wolf? I feel like it's been a while. Welcome in. So pretty simple solution, but I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that we can write this, because right now I've done it in a somewhat verbose way. Yeah, so that passes the tests. This is like as verbose as it gets, I think. You could probably be a little bit more verbose than this. So on Code Wars, you can click this button test, and that just runs it against these tests that you can actually see right here. But if you click the attempt button, that will run it against randomized tests. So you can't just fake it out, and because technically you could write a function that says if it's 3 return this and if it's 11 return this, but when you click the attempt button it runs it against a bunch of other random inputs, so you can't predict what those are going to be. Maybe we'll do a speed run later. Okay, so this is as simple as it gets, but it's also very verbose. One thing you might not know is that if you have a return inside of an if statement, you actually don't need an else statement. So we can actually just do this. Because basically what will happen is this function gets called, the if statement, if the if statement is true, this code runs, and then the function exits, so it never makes it to this line of code. But if this is not true, then we instantly just want to return this, right? We don't need an else statement. So this little bit of code should work as well. It's going to work in the same way, but we just don't have to have that else statement. I mean, the other thing I can mention is that with an if statement, technically, you don't need the curly braces. So technically, I can write my code like that. Now, I would recommend that you don't do this because pretty often in a code base, you'll come along and you'll do something like, I don't know, add another line of code right here. And you will not realize that this statement is no longer inside of the if statement. So it's actually really good practice to always use curly braces on your if statements. Yeah, so if you leave off the curly braces, it can create some really hard to track down bugs. So I'm not even going to show you that solution. Basically, always use curly braces on your if statement. Yeah. The other thing we could do is we could flip the logic, right? So we could say if in is less than 10, return that. Otherwise, return the greater one, right? So basically, same solution. We've kind of just flipped where we're testing, right? So we test for it being less than 10, because if it's not less than 10, it's greater than or equal to 10, and so then this would return. Yeah. And then the other thing you can do is you can turn it into a ternary statement, right? You can say you can do it basically as a one-liner. So you can write it all in one line like this. So if in is greater than or equal to 10, return that. Otherwise, return that. So this is known as a ternary. It's basically like an inline conditional. You have the question mark, you have the colon. If this expression resolves to true, then this whole expression will resolve to that. If this resolves to false, then it will resolve to that. We can also write it on multiple lines to make it like slightly more readable. You could write it like this. And that works too. Ooh, yeah, ternaries. That'll get it. Sweet. Yeah, can anyone think of any other way to solve this? I guess like what we could do is we could get like we could get real functional with it in a way. And I guess we could also do like an object lookup. That could be weird. But let's do it because esoteric solutions, yeah. I like that, Josh Washy Wash. Okay, so we'll implement it this way. I'm also thinking of a way of implementing it by like returning the value from an object. That's gonna get interesting. And thank you, hey, it's Azar. Yeah, there's my theme. You can check it out there. But yeah, I like where you're going with this. we can get really weird with it, like array indexing. I do. So before we move on to that, what Programmer Jeff is saying, I kind of do like that solution as well. Like, basically, you could take it anything else that I've done, and put the result into a variable. So instead of having the return statement like this, you could say like let the result default to this. But if in is less than 10, set the result to that. And then we always return the result. So this is another way to go about it. Basically, you have this variable that you're storing the answer inside of. And then you have a single statement that always returns that result, but then you have the logic that changes the value of that variable. Yeah. Wait, what are these? Gold kappa? Oh, did they just change the kappa emote to be gold? How'd you get the gold kappa? What'd you do? What do I got to do to get a gold kappa? I don't know what the gold kappas are. Oh, it's a gold kappa hype train. I see. I see. Turbo only? Well. Okay, okay, at this point, if you're a beginner program, I would if you, the beer is talking. If you're a beginner programmer, this solution totally valid. This solution great. This is great. Like if you can solve it this way, you're doing good. You're on the right track. I would even say that ternaries are honestly like it's not that ternaries are advanced. It's that a lot of times in code bases, ternaries are terse. They're like sometimes very hard to read. So a lot of times in code bases, I actually don't even like to see ternary statements. However, if you're in a React code base, you're going to see ternaries all over the place. But yeah, all right, now let's do some weird stuff. Let's do some weird stuff. So here's my thought. What if we have an object and it has a property true that is set to this and a property false that is set to this. And then what we return is we index into the object at the result of that expression. So if in is less than 10, that will be true. So we don't want that. We want it to be greater than or equal to for it to be true. But you could do the opposite logic too. Yeah, so this is weird. We're getting real weird with it. So we have an object that has these are literally keys on the object. It might look like these are booleans, but these are just keys on the object. And then we're indexing into the object with the result of that expression. So if the expression results in true, then it pulls out the true property, which is that string, right? Right? Well, we have a ternary statement here. I don't think I would turn it into a template literal. Oh, programmer Jeff, thank you. Thank you for the bits. You're too kind. But yeah, so this is what we're getting. So this is what Josh Washi Wash was saying, is use the comparison casted to an index. So first of all, we could do it the opposite way. So we could make this one false and this one true. But if we did less than 10, then so this is like the two ways of doing it with an object. But yeah, you can get really weird with it. So instead of even needing to have true or false, you can literally just put it into an array like that. And this will actually work. Well, actually, okay, let's think about this. So true would be 1 and false would be 0. So 1, we want to be that. So that. So well, the thing is, you should do you have to cast it? I guess you do. You have to cast it to a number. You're totally right. We have to cast this to a number. So this is going to give us back a boolean, right? It's going to give us back true or false. But in JavaScript, no, absolutely, Josh Washiwas. Yeah. So I think anything past this, don't even do this in the real world. Yeah, don't do this. Any solution above this, totally fine. Anything below this, now we're just having a laugh. We're just messing around. But let me show you how this conversion thing works. So in JavaScript, if you pass a boolean into the number constructor, it will give you back true gives you back 1, and then false gives you back 0. And in JavaScript, the plus sign is actually the unary plus, and we can kind of like treat that like casting to a number. So if we do a plus sign on true, that turns it into the value 1. If we do a plus sign on false, that turns it into the value 0. So we're essentially casting the Boolean to a number, which either gives us back 0 or 1. So what that basically allows us to do is index into the array, right? So if this is 1, then we're going to get back this value. If we get 0, then we're going to get back this value. So this too is very weird, but it should work. Yeah. And honestly, like if this solution is already weird, but if you want to be like less terse, you could actually cast it to a number. Makes you want more evening streams? Well, the thing is, I haven't done a Code Kata stream in a long time. That's typically my thing, is like we solve it in 100 different ways, and we think about weird stuff like this too. Yeah, these two are basically doing the same thing. But this, when people see this, this makes a little bit more sense. They understand, like, oh, you're casting a Boolean to a number. Whereas this is like, you have a plus sign there? What the heck is that even doing?
Yeah. Cheer 100, cheer 100, cheer 100,
oh, thank
cheer
you,
100, have another beer.
The thing is, this is a 20-ounce, 9% IPA, so it's plenty. Like, I couldn't even pour the full beer into the cup. But thank you for the bits. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's this problem. I think I'm going to stop there because there are only so many ways you can do like Booleans. I don't know. Did anyone else have another weird solution? A crazy way using string slices, but I don't want to say because it's kind of heinous. String slice? Yeah, well, okay, this is another possible solution. Is you actually, I honestly, I kind of like this because instead of doing like a comparison, you literally say is in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and if it is, return this. But if it's not, return the other thing. I like that. Yeah, we can use a switch too. I'm gonna do your solution with that because actually it's really interesting to look at, right? So first of all, we're learning about the in operator. So the in operator allows us to see is some value a key in the object-like thing on the right-hand side. So like technically this isn't checking to see is the value in the array. This is checking to see is there a key on this object that is of that value. Right? Because if we wanted to see if it was in the array, we would use like find or index of. But yeah, so if it's basically if it's less than 10, oh, includes would work as well. So if it's less than 10, we return this. Otherwise, we return this. This is just funny because it's like, well, why would you test this versus just testing like, is it less than 10, you know? But that's definitely a valid way of doing it. Concatenate the two strings and then, oh, I see what you're saying. So we have a single string that's the combination of the two. And then we use slice to pick out the one that we want. Oh, I like that. Okay, yeah. So I see what you're saying. That, yeah. So what Dr. Phantom is doing is instead of doing instead of knowing what the indice is, you literally just split it. So yeah, we could actually do this. We could say we have a single string that has both of them in there, separated by a dot dot. And then we take that string and we split it on the, or colon colon. That gives us an array of length 2, and then we can index into it. So yeah, that's a fun one as well. But yeah, so that's another one is if we use like includes in here. So instead of saying using in, we could say if this array includes the number in, return that, otherwise return that. Fascinating. Fascinating. What's up, Chad? Welcome in. All right, I think I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to remind you all that those solutions are really weird. And in the real world, if I were working on a team and solving this problem, I would solve it like this because it's very straightforward. We have a simple if statement, return this, otherwise return that. I absolutely, and Alka, thank you for the tier 1. But I absolutely do prefer the return without the else, right? So like if you ever see a return statement inside of an else, you can just get rid of the else statement. No, we did it with the ternary. I don't like the ternary. It's too terse. It's like, it's too compacted. Like, here's the thing. Like, code is about communication. And this communicates very well. This almost like reads like plain English. If it's greater than or equal to 10, that's our result. Otherwise, that's our result. You could, I feel like my brain has to work harder when it sees a ternary versus when it sees an if statement. I don't know. But yeah, that's my preferred solution. Cool. That was fun, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us and giving us ideas. What's this one called? Keep up the hoop. Eight cube? Yeah. I prefer greater than or equal 10 than greater than a 9 since 10 is the operative number. Well, the problem description says if it gets 10 or more. So basically they're saying greater than or equal to. For me, it's, again, I think if we're talking about being explicit, my brain has to stop and think if I see a less than. Because if I see a less than, or it's like, all right, so it's not inclusive. Like I have to double take and think about it a little bit longer to think about this expression being non-inclusive. Maybe that's just me. You know, that could just be me. But when I see a explicitly greater than or equal to, like it's very my brain instantly is like, yes, I know exactly what that does. Whereas I feel like I have to think slightly longer about that line of code. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing about ternaries. Like some people will end up doing like nested ternaries. I think it's like really hard to read. Yeah. Oh yeah. So, did you submit a link to a kata earlier? Yeah. Let's look at it. Is this a 7? It's a 6. Let's do a 7. Actually, let's do a clash of code. Then we'll do a 7, a clash of code, and then we'll do a 6. What's up, Moose? I completely missed your message earlier. Can I ask a completely unrelated, extremely vague programming question? Yeah, feel free, Moose. I don't know if you're still here. Sorry I missed your message earlier. Feel free. And thanks for dropping in. What if it's less than or equal to... Wait, what's the question mark for? So, Mumi Jamal is saying, for me, in less than 10 is more intuitive than in greater than or equal to 10 because the order goes from smaller to larger as you read from left to right. I could see that. It's just not what I'm used to. I think it's because like I just always double take, and sometimes I get my less thans and my greater thans wrong. So like when I see an equal to, like I know it's inclusive of the right hand side. I don't know. It's honestly probably like a split second more that I have to think about it. Expect things to get Mitch. For biking streams, I want a Twitch applet widget or plugin that shows where I am in real time and lets people pick a destination on the map, tells them how much it'll cost. Oh, and then they can send that money and make me go places. How horrible a job is that? Like, doable if I need the right person, or is this needs a team level of dumb? No, I think you could find. I think you could contract a single developer to build that for you. Yeah, I don't think this needs any sort of team. Like, the thing that would require a team and require like a ton of effort is if you want it to scale, right? If you want to create like software as a service where any IRL streamer can now use this service, that's what takes a lot of effort. But if they're building it specifically for you, I think you could hire a single developer to do that. This honestly sounds like a great idea too. I want to build this. I don't know if I'd have the time to do it, but I was working on a real time location overlay because I know isn't it like real time IRL? Yeah, this one. So this exists. You can install the app on your phone and it updates the location in real time so people can actually see where you are. And then they have Twitch overlays so you can have an overlay that says like where you are on the map. But it doesn't have like waypoints or like I like your idea of someone literally is like go to this place and then you can charge them per mile. That's cool. I like that idea. But yeah, I think if you I don't know, Alka, is there any kind of dev network of people that build Twitch extensions that Moose can reach out to? I honestly have no idea how you would find somebody. Like you could probably find somebody on like Upwork or some of like the freelancing websites, that kind of thing. But I don't know if you'll be able to find somebody that is specifically good at like Twitch integrations. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, good luck with that, Moose. And if I build something like that, I'll let you know. But I'm kind of far away from that because I actually am trying to build something that is a bit that almost in a way will be like a software as a service where multiple people can sign up, track their location. Basically, I want to build real-time IRL. But it doesn't automatically give away your location. That's the one thing I don't like about it is that there's no way to hide yourself on the map. I don't think maybe they have it behind a paywall or something, but I want to be able to show a map overlay on my stream without everyone being able to go here and literally get my exact GPS coordinates. Because it's a bit less like intrusive if they can see it on the screen but they don't actually know the exact coordinates, you know what I mean? Yeah, cool. All right, let's play some Clash of Code. So if you're just joining us, we just solved a Code Wars Code Kata. I think I'll submit it. So we talked about how this website works earlier. When you submit your solution, if you got it correct, you can actually see how other people solved it. So like you can see this person did it with a ternary. Here's another ternary. They also added like a constant. Basically, everybody's using a ternary. They did like an if statement. They're doing some validating of the input. So when you submit your solution, you can actually see how other people solve it as well. The hard part I'd expect is it'd have to be able to track paths on the map given roads, cycle paths, etc., not just as the crow flies. Yeah, but typically with most mapping libraries, there is what's it called? Navigation, like between 2 points, and it uses. I think by default it's going to give you like how a car would drive, which might actually be different than how you walk or how a bike would go. But I think the Google Maps navigation, you can actually choose the type of transit. I guess Mapbox has something too. Am I searching for the right thing? Draw a line between two latitude longitudes. Yeah, but what Moose is saying is like if you're in a city, you can't walk through buildings. Like you have to take the blocks. So the navigation would literally have to take you through the blocks versus like a straight line to where you're trying to go. But most map SDKs that you would integrate with like have um a way to get maps in the same way that like Google Maps gives you directions. Like this Mapbox API. Fascinating. What if it's to a store in a mall? That's harder. Like, I mean, if you think about it, like it's Google Maps just takes you to the parking lot. Google Maps doesn't take you into the building, though some buildings do have like their layout on Google Maps, but GPS is a lot harder like inside of a building. But yeah, like this is an SDK that you can integrate that actually gives you navigation inside your custom app that you're building. So, um, whoever you ask to integrate it or build it could use something like this. They wouldn't have to do it from scratch. Okay, let's play Clash of Codes. So this is a way for us to all try to solve the same problem as fast as we're gonna do fastest mode as fast as possible. And right now, I'm going to make it so that you can use literally any programming language. So when I start the clash, it'll create a link. I'll share the link. Everyone can join. It'll get started about 2 minutes after that. But when it starts, you can choose whatever programming language you want, and you'll have 15 minutes to solve the problem. And then there will be a leaderboard of who is the fastest to solve it. Now, we can't choose the difficulty. So it could be really hard. It also could be really easy. I would say if you're a beginner programmer, just give it a try. But it's possible that it's going to be a bit harder than like the problem that I just solved. So yeah, my advice is give it a try. Don't sweat it if it's too hard. That just means you need more practice and more exposure. So if it's too hard, give it your best shot. And if you want to feel good about yourself or remind yourself that you still know how to program, go back over to Code Wars, choose the difficulty that you're at least accustomed to, and then solve a problem. Because that'll remind you that it's some problems are just hard. Some problems are out of reach, right? You're not quite there yet, and that's okay. That's okay. But we'll see. It varies widely. Sometimes super easy. Sometimes I can't even solve it in the 15-minute time limit. So yeah, and good call, Alka. Yeah, so once you click that link, you'll have to sign up. I think you can sign up with GitHub, and then you can click join the clash. Default says a little late to the discussion. Not sure if I would want to be sent somewhere and then have them potentially waiting for me. Yeah, yeah. So this is in reference to what Moose was mentioning about people can send them a specific spot. Yeah, I mean that's the nature of doing IRL streams is you run into it sounds like yeah, like you could run into an issue like that, but at the same time they paid for you to get there because they're paying by the mile. So yeah. Cool. Yeah, welcome in Programmer Jeff. I see you. All right. So I'm going to launch the class. I do believe that anyone can join afterwards, after we start. That not work? What is happening? No, that's wrong. There we go. It was not set or update. It was edit. Yeah, so if anybody comes in, yeah, I think you got it, Murdoch. If anyone comes in and they want to know the clash, do exclamation mark current clash. That'll get them a link here. Let's go. It didn't redirect me. It says the clash has started. I don't see anything. Should I refresh? There we go. Okay. Okay. So left-hand side, this is the problem description. This is the timer. And then right-hand side is where you can write your code. You can choose the dropdown and then change your programming language. They typically give you some setup. So they give you the code required to read the input already. And this is fastest mode, so you don't have to worry about how many characters, just solve it as fast as possible. It most of the time doesn't have to be an optimized solution, but it might, so let's go. Let's read the problem. You may have heard the children's song, Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, which is sung repeatedly, and each round one more keyword is left out until all keywords are silent. I've never done it that way, but okay. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees. Okay. Okay. There are also different versions of this where only one letter is removed from a keyword. In this German song, the removing is starting at the back of the keyword. Auf der Laur sitzt eine kleine Wanze. Okay. The verses are in lowercase with the keywords in uppercase. The replacement each round is the underscore as seen in the examples above. So for input, you will be given a space-separated string containing words or letters indicating if we remove whole words or letters. Okay, so it's going to tell us which version we're going to do. And then front or back, determining if we start at the front or start at the back. Okay. The second line will be the keywords. The third line, a string of keywords separated by a space. The fourth line will be the original verse, including the keywords. Wow, this is a lot. This is a lot. Some number of lines. So the output is some number of lines starting with the original verse. Each line has the next keyword. So basically, once we have the start, we need to output each version after that, depending on if it's from the beginning, if it's from the end, if it's a whole word, if it's just a letter. All right, great. For example, it tells us we need to replace words from the front. And we are going to expect 4 different things. So head, shoulders, knees, toes. And then probably we can just ignore this one because we can formulate that based on that. So the first output would be head, shoulders, knees, toes. Then it would be blank, shoulders, knees, toes. Then blank, blank, knees and toes. Blank, 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 and toes. And then blank, 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 and blank. Easy. So if we look at the code that we've been given, it reads the thing. Then we have each keyword. I'm going to put those keywords into an array. And then we have the start point and the substitution mode. So I'll say if the start point is front, we'll do this, else we'll do the back. Inputs is already an array. Let's see. Inputs is words and front. So I think it's either going to that's going to be these two things. So substitution mode is words or letters, and then start point is going to be front or back. So honestly, I'm just gonna write it all out because like we could try to optimize it, but let's just write it all out. So if it's from the front, we want a loop that does the number of keywords, right? So if there are 1, 2, 3, 4 keywords, then we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna have 5 outputs. Okay. So reassign on line 10. Oh, I see. So then we don't even need the keywords. We can honestly, and that's the other thing, is we can just ignore K. It's like, because we have the keywords. Easy. I'm also going to ignore the verse. I guess I can't ignore the verse because if it's in German, then it's not going to be and, it's going to be something else. So you can look at the test cases down here. Let's see if they give us something in German. Yeah, they do. Oh. But if it's from, I see, but if it's from the back, then they give us the specific word that we're gradually replacing. Yeah, so we have to use the verse. I can't just assume that it's going to be blank, 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 and blank. Okay. So we do have the verse. Okay. Let's just do it for the case of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I can do that. So if it's from the front, we want a loop that goes from 0 to the number of keywords. Plus 1, because we're going to have an iteration for each keyword and then one iteration where there's nothing. And then the current keyword is going to be keywords dot. I want to remove the first one in the list. So shift. Let me make sure that shift is what I want. Array shift. Removes the first element from an array. That's what I want. So remove the current keyword, and then we're going to log. And we're going to say the verse is verse.replace that keyword with an underscore. And this is also if it's words and not letters. Man, this is a lot to do in 15 minutes, honestly. So we also want to say if it's words. So if the start point is front and the substitution mode is words, then we'll do this. So we have the verse. We log the verse. Like that, and then we log the verse first. So this should work. This should work for head, shoulders, knees, and toes. It's going to get tricky for all the other situations, but for the first one, it didn't work. Assignment to a constant variable. Verse, we're going to reassign, so we make it a let. How is this not the verse? Do we need to read line again? So we have one read line, 2, 3, 4. The fourth read line, 1, 2. Oh, because we got rid of K. That's why. And Damon, thank you for the prime. Honestly, so because we're modifying the keywords array inside the loop, that's what kind of the issue is here. So I kind of want to just do while keywords still exist. Yeah. All right. So that works for when it's from the front and the substitution mode is words. Great. Okay. What is our next test case? It's from the back and our substitution mode is letters. So let's just have another if statement here. So if else, if the start point is the back and the substitution mode is letters. Cool. We print out the verse as is. We have what variable is going to contain the actual word? Keywords is. So here we can actually just say the word is keywords at 0. And then we'll we're going to remove one letter at a time from the word. I guess I could turn it into an array and then shift from it in a similar way. So I'll say while word.length. And we do a similar thing. We log, or we reassign the verse. So we replace the word. Let's put it in a variable, the OG word. No, the word. That should be fine. Replace the word with join it back together. Replace the word with itself. No, this is tricky because we have to replace the last certain number of characters. I think I need the original word. Man, I only have 1 minute and 49 seconds. This is tough. There's no way I'm gonna solve the whole thing. Because I'm thinking instead of replacing the verse, we could just actually replace the word every time with this. So replace the OG word, the original word, with the word itself, and then on each iteration, we want to replace the last letter of the word with an underscore. We want to do it one at a time. Then it's not going to be word at length. We need some kind of index starts at the end. The word at that index equals that, and then index minus minus. Cool. I did it with 20 seconds to spare. But I only got front with words and back with letters, but I did not get front with letters and then back with words. Yeah. Only 10 seconds left. There's no way I'm gonna get these. I'm gonna get these other two. I'm just gonna submit what I have. Whew. It's too late at night for this. That's too. That was too much. It's too much. Cool. So I'll wait a few seconds for these last few people to submit their solutions. Yeah, I mean, I was trying my best too, but that was a lot. That was a lot to do in 15 minutes. I mean, just understanding the problem took like 5 minutes. Whew. Whew. And only one. So I'll wait for these to submit, but it looks like right now only one person got 100%. And it's probably because they used Ruby. No, exactly. Finder the Icewing. Like, I think like understanding the problem is like half the battle. But Andrea Manitra did it with Ruby. Fascinating. All right, let's run through this solution. So if we are replacing words, then split the incoming. Ruby is cheating. I wouldn't say it's cheating. They just have a lot built in. I mean, look how simple this solution is. But also, this isn't a simple solution just because it's Ruby. It's a simple solution because this person is proficient in Ruby and can efficiently solve problems like this with Ruby. All right. Yeah. So is this you, Mumi Jamala? Is this you? Okay. So if it's words, split it into an array, I guess. But if it's letters, pull it all in to a single value. I think that's what the scan is doing. Okay. And then the verse gets chomped. So this is like string split. String split will turn that verse into like a list of all the words. So if we're going from the front, what is partition? If we're going from the front, we're going to be shifting it into the value. Otherwise, we're going to be popping it from the verse. I guess basically you're setting up the operations that are going to happen down below. So you're going to reuse these two things down here. So get is either going to be shift or pop. So the word is going to be either pop or shift. And you've got some like weird destructuring going on. I actually haven't seen destructuring in Ruby before. I'm curious what the send method does in Ruby. What does send do in Ruby? Sends a message to an object instance and its ancestors in class hierarchy. So it's like a function invocation. You're like you're dynamically invoking this function on it. I see. So shift is a method on inputs, and then like partition or R partition is a method on verse, and then you have the argument that you're passing in. In JavaScript, we can just so let's say we have yeah, so shift. So let's say I have a list of numbers 1, 2, 3. List.shift is a method that you can just directly invoke like that. But in JavaScript, we can actually just pass in a variable with that name and then invoke it like this. So we don't in JavaScript we don't have to do like this send thing. We can literally just dynamically grab the method name on the object and invoke it like this. So you could have like the function name in a variable and then dynamically pass it in like this. Like that. So Yeah, so this basically in JavaScript, it's super dynamic. We can just pass it. We can look it up on the object dynamically and then invoke it. It looks like in Ruby, you use the send function to dynamically call a method on the object of a given name. Though it is interesting to me, like I mean, maybe you can tell me, yeah, like operation is the name of the method you want to call, but maybe you can tell me, Mumi Jamala, I would expect these to be strings, but like, why does it have a colon in front of it? Is that saying that this is a method name that you're going to reference later? Fascinating. Function pointer? Is that what it is? It's a named function pointer? Huh. It's a symbol. They're a bit more efficient than strings. I see. So behind the scenes, um, the shift method is like the name of the method actually is the shift symbol, and that's how you can reference it. Fascinating. This is an extremely elegant solution, and I cannot believe you came up with it in 14 minutes and 19 seconds. So good job, Mumi. That's awesome. All right, so Alka got 80% with JavaScript. It got really close. Really close. Okay, so if the substitution mode is letters, the keywords, we're going to splice in every letter of the keywords. Replace in place. I can't even think about what this is even doing. So remove nothing from the array. Delete everything. And then, oh, because you're replacing the variable itself. I see. Yeah, okay. That's weird. You could have just made it a let, right? If you made it a let, then you could just say keywords equals array like that, right? Yeah, you're right, Alka. It's not as cool. It's really hard to understand though. All right. Yeah, this is a cool trick. So if we're gonna do another one of these later, if you want to debug, do console.error because it doesn't count towards your output. So console.error just lets you debug some stuff. All right, so if we're starting at the front, we have the number of keywords. Grab each keyword, replace the keyword with an underscore. Boom. If it's from the back, same thing. But I guess you got 80% because you only accounted for letters. You didn't account for. No, I guess you. If it's letters, you change the variable. But if it was words, it stays as is, and this logic just works. Okay. Problem is, it's always replacing the first one, even if the same word repeats. I guess that's the one, like, edge case, is if you have a phrase where the same word is repeated more than once. This was a hard one to solve. Honestly, this is not a good introduction to Clash of Code. It's like, I mean, I guess it wasn't technically hard, right? If I had 10 more minutes, I could have completely solved it, but I just didn't have enough time. All right, so Sanguilepenguin or Sanguilenglin did it with Python. They got a 40%. Yeah, I think the issue is anybody new that's joining the lobby with us, because myself and Alka and probably a few others have um, done a lot of these. It skips all the easy ones because it doesn't want to give us repeats. Yeah, exactly, Alka. Same thing for me. I mean, I probably spent like 6 minutes doing that. Cool. That's great. If it's letters, not enough time. Yeah, words was easy though, wasn't it? You just literally replace the entire word. But I think that breaks down when uh, potentially the word is repeated. Yeah. Okay. And then you had my solution, which I don't know. I'm glad I got this like at the last second. I'm glad that I actually figured that one out. But yeah. Yeah. Honestly, do we want redemption? Do we want to try to do one more before going back to Code Wars? Let's do a redemption. Let's try for a one that we think we can all maybe do. Here we go. If you're just joining us, like HMM, click that link. You can join us in a Clash of Code. So essentially, we're all going to get dropped into this lobby. Whenever I click go, we're all going to have 15 minutes to solve the same problem. We don't know what programming problem it is just yet. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alka. And if anyone new comes along, !current clash will give them the link. And it's fastest mode. So once the timer starts in the lobby, you have 15 minutes to solve it, and then there's a leaderboard. So the fastest person to solve it gets number 1 in the leaderboard. Also, you all have an advantage. I'm drinking a very high ABV beer in Speed Strat. Thank you for the tier 1. I guess I should probably put coding game in my title. You're on a Pentium, so that makes you equal. Cool. Like a Pentium processor? Is that what you mean? What? Yeah, I think that's the idea of freedom is like, you give it your best shot. You keep at it. Eventually you get better at them. But as you saw, like I couldn't even solve that one in 15 minutes. Haskell takes some getting used to. I've only written a little bit of Haskell. It's just so different than everything else I've ever done. But yeah, I think I should show up here now. There I am. Look at me. All right, we're gonna jump in. You can still join after if you didn't join yet. All right, timer is here. Problem description is here. Code is over here. Click here. You can choose your programming language. Let's go. I want to construct a tower of height h by stacking blocks in a straight line going upwards. However, I only have 2 types of blocks of height p and height q, where p is less than or equal to q. If any combination of these 2 types of blocks is allowed, what is the maximum amount of blocks that can be used to construct the tower? If it is impossible to construct the tower, the output should be 0. This just sounds like a math problem. So you're going to get the desired height of the tower, 2 space separated integers, p and q, the height of the available blocks. The maximum, and the output is the maximum amount of blocks required to construct the tower. Yeah, I mean, I think I can think of the simplest algorithm where we pick the smallest number and we see what's the largest number that it's divisible by, and if the leftover is the larger one, then like, because that's what happens here, right? So 3 can at most go in 3 times, but then that would be 9, so there's none left over for that. If you subtract 3, then there is some left over for that, so then the 4 can go in. Man, um, is there like some equation we can use for this? Because I mean I can only think of almost like brute force solutions. Look at that, Grayland is done with Python. There's got to be some kind of like mathematical formula we can use for this. All right, we'll just do the algorithm that I'm thinking of, but I'm not good with maths, so yeah. Basically, we have our input in. Oh, nice, Freedom. Good job. Oh, ChatGPT did it. I see. But here's what I'm thinking. We do in uh, divided by p, because p is going to be the smaller of the two. And then we floor that. So we'll say like min count. So how many times can 3 evenly go into 10? In this scenario, min count is going to give us back 3. And we'll say if min count times p is equal to n, then we're done. If it's not, we need to subtract p and then see if the result is divisible by q. If it is, then it's min count as well. If that's not divisible, then we could subtract it again to see if that's divisible by q. I don't want to solve this. I really don't want to solve this because like I do feel like there's some kind of equation or some mathematical property that I don't know about or can't think about to be able to solve this. Because it has to be something like greatest common divisor or like greatest common multiple, something like that. Dot solve. Yeah, I don't have that. And what's up, Zinc? Welcome in. And Flex Zones. See it. Hello. And Dokugan, welcome in. Math is the word. I mean, math is fine. It's just I haven't done a lot of it lately. So does anyone in the chat know? Yeah, and that's basically what I was about to do. A325 Like that's what I was about to solve, but the thing is like that only works so much, right? Like I mean, I guess I could try to solve it that way, but I don't know if it's going to work for every possible scenario. And then you could do it in the reverse. You could say like, well, how many times does Q go into N, and then see if the remainder fits for P, fits with P. Yeah, honestly, I guess that's the solution. I have 9 minutes. I guess I'll code it up. All right. So we'll say min count. Subtract 1 from min count. And then say if min count times P plus Q is equal to N, min count plus 1. Let's just say while min count is greater. Yeah, see, is that the formula? Cash me, cash me if you can. Because like how would you come up with that? How would you know? Um, so while min count is greater than 0. And then if we make it out of there, then we want to do like the reverse. Discrete maths. I'm trying to remember. So I actually have a minor in mathematics. I have a degree in computer science. Was it discrete math that was like my worst subject ever? It could have been. There's one math, one math class that was just like the worst. We'll do Q. But I actually we need a counter variable. Wait. Yeah. Like that. What is all this codes? I have too many codes. That's kind of amazing. So I just threw some code at it and I got 75%. Um my goodness. No flipping way. All right, what's test case number 4? Um Found 0, expected 83. Is anyone else as surprised as me that I just threw a bunch of loops at it and I solved it? But I mean, so this is like the way that I thought about it in my head. Yeah, and basically this way. So figure out which one can fit more, then if the other can fit in the remainder. That's basically what we're doing right here. So we see how many times can P fit into N. If it fits evenly, we're done. If it doesn't fit evenly, we see how many times Q can fit into the remainder, if it can fit into the remainder evenly. Yeah. What's up, Flex Zones? Just came here to say hi and that I really loved your latest video. The editing was great and your answers were super interesting. Hope you do more. Anyway, good luck. Oh, thank you, Flex Zones. I want to do more. I'm thinking more and more. I almost want to do like one vlog style video every week. I'm trying to come up with ideas for the kinds of vlogs that I can make because I enjoyed filming it and I enjoyed editing it. So, all right. What's the input for number 4? 257, 3 and 7. $257 divided by 3 is 85. $257 minus 3 times 85 is 2. Yeah, I don't know. 7 is more than double the 3, and you just increment by 1. Hmm. Is it mandatory to use both blocks? No, it's not. You can use all of the smaller block if you want to. Three times 81 plus 2 times 7. Well, then that should actually be covered by this little bit of code right here. I don't know why I'm doing minus equal 1. I could be doing minus minus. That's a bit more clear. Because, yeah, so basically 257 divided by 3 is 85. So we would have done 85, 84, 83, 2. Then we do 81. 81 times 3. So 85, 84, 83, 82, 81. But then that would have been 5. I guess we don't actually want the count to go up here. Um, this one is 83. Actually, I'm surprised my solution is even working because yeah, I'm assuming that we only decrement by 1 every time and then check. I need to decrement until Q is divisible in the remainder, and I'm not doing that because I'm incrementing the count every time. Yeah, I only have 48 seconds, but somehow this worked. but now I see the error in my logic here. Yeah, let's submit it. But basically, I was only decrementing. Oh, sorry, I was only decrementing by the smaller number, but I should have taken into account how much was actually left over. Fascinating. I still got an 88%. That's great. Wow. Cool. But apparently this is the knapsack problem, and apparently this is the solution to the knapsack problem. Yeah, let's see how Grayland did it. Did they get this? They get the formula? This was a hard one. I think that's the other thing is like because I'm not well studied on specific algorithms and stuff like that, like being able to identify something as the knapsack problem, I think is also key to like being able to solve these things fast. Like if you read that problem and you knew it was the knapsack problem, you could like instantly solve it because you potentially could look up the formula or know what the formula already is. So we wanted redemption, we didn't get it. This was also very hard. How about we do this? We're going to do our own Clash of Code. I'm going to pick a Code Wars code kata, and first person in the chat to submit their solution is the winner. We should probably, okay, this will be the last Clash of Code of the night. We're going to do the shortest mode. Here we go. This is fun because this is code golf. And I'm going to force you all to use JavaScript. Those two, both of those were hard. um, but shortest mode is you have 15 minutes to solve it, but you want to solve it in the least number of characters possible. So after you solve it, you want to basically shorten your solution to as small as possible. Force JavaScript. Yeah, that's the issue though, is like if you choose to use Ruby or Python, it could be like really short automatically, which is why we have to be on a level playing field. Everybody's got to use JavaScript. And I guess I have some advantages because I know all the tricks. All right, here we go. Let's go. How is that a level playing field? Just because we're all using the same language, but you're right. If you're not familiar with JavaScript, then you're gonna have a harder time. Yeah. You are watching me code, that's true, but typically you probably should mute me while you're trying to solve it. But how about this? I will give you a crash course in making things shorter with JavaScript. Um, Tip number one, don't use var, let, or const. There's no need for var, let, or const. If we're not in strict mode, then the JavaScript engine automatically just makes everything a var. So literally remove all of your var, let, and const. Tip number two, don't use semicolons. That counts as an extra character, and you actually don't need the semicolons. Tip number three, use print instead of console.log. So this will only work in Clash of Code, but the print keyword they added in, and you can use that instead of console log, and that'll save you on some characters. Tip number four is instead of doing array.split like this, you can do array.split and then take advantage of the fact that template literals are also like a function invocation. Hey, CM Griffin. Thank you for the tier one. Appreciate you. Samwise is misbehaving today. They keep sending double messages. But yeah, so basically that shortens you another 2 characters if you do this. Another tip is use function invocations as a spot to declare other variables. So let's say, for example, you call like do the thing, but do the thing doesn't actually accept any arguments. You could do something like, wait, could you do this? Can you define variables there? I guess you can't define variables. You could do something like this. It'd be like a no-op. Could you do something like that? And then that defines an I variable? Yeah, function names will count against your thing. So, okay, so let's say do the thing is an arrow function that just does nothing. If we say do the thing, and inside of that we say wat equals 10. Now outside of it, wat is 10. Yeah, so you can actually define variables inside of here, as long as this function doesn't actually accept any arguments. So one of the aspects of functions in JavaScript is you can pass arguments to them even if they don't take in any arguments. So we're abusing that fact to define some variables. The other thing is use the comma operator. So the comma operator allows you to have multiple statements on a single line. So you can say like, multiple statements, and then the return value will be the last statement. So you could have something like a equals 42, print wat hello. And so with the comma operator, the result here is going to be the last value in the list of if in the comma separated list. So result will actually resolve to hello. Any other tips for keeping your JavaScript short? Yeah, I would say tip 0 is solve it the long way first, then minify. All right, these are your tips. Here we go, everybody. Here we go. Yeah, and then I think new lines will count for like 1 character, but I'll show you really quick. Oh yeah, remove comments. That's tip number 7. Or tip 00. Remove all comments. I have that on here. Don't use semicolons. Okay, so here's your tip list to make your JavaScript as short as possible. But I'll show you on the right-hand side, you can see your code size there. So right now it starts off as 267. But like I said, get rid of the comments, get rid of const, get rid of your semicolons. And I didn't mention this, get rid of the spaces everywhere that you can. So like there should be no spaces between your variable declarations. So we took that code that was 267 characters and we made it 44 characters. So keep an eye on this number here. This is going to be the final code size that gets submitted. All right, here we go. Give it a number in base 10, convert it to base 26 using the uppercase letters of the alphabet as digits. Isn't that just built in? Yeah. So we could send it to base 26 instantly. And then to uppercase it. Is there a shorter way to do it? The unary plus operator? So 35 would be BJ. Oh, I see. That's not really base 26 though, is it? Using A for digit 0, B for digit 1, Z for digit 25. Yeah, that's not actually base 26 because base 26 would be like 0 through 9, then A through not Z. So we have to do this manually. We can't use like the built-in base converter. Yeah, it doesn't use 0 through 9. That's the main issue. Sure. Does this let you create like little one-off a gist organizer? I'll have to check it out. Yeah, so we need to create our own base conversion. Oof, okay, this is gonna be tricky. Yeah, this is gonna be tricky. But I think we can do it. I think we can do. Let's put this back in a variable. Like this. Okay. So it's not doing 3 as B and 5 as J. It's doing 30. So 30 would actually be so it's doing each what do you call this? Each place in the number. So J (25) in base 26 is, it wouldn't be P, it'd be Y, wouldn't it? Oh, no, Z. Z. Yeah, I mean, I want to write this out. I feel like I can't think this through without actually like writing it out. Oh, yeah. In actual base 26. Yeah. You're totally right. I need to drink more beer. I'm not actually writing any code. I should actually write some code. Okay, I can think about like converting something to binary though, right? So if you wanted to convert the number 35 into binary, um, you would do what? I guess you have the tens place? Well, I guess not, because they would be like A through Z, and then 26 would actually be um BZ or BA. AA. I have to write this down. I don't have my overhead camera, but let me think about this because I'll show you after I write it. So the number 26 0 to the 0th power is 1. Z. Okay. Okay. So you have A through Z is 0 through 25, and then 26 is ZA, 27 is ZB, 28 is ZC, 29 is ZD. Is that true? 30 is ZE? Like BJ doesn't make sense to me, right? Because 35 would just be whatever the 10th letter is. After 25, you're no longer starting at A, you're starting at B? Really? Are you doing text to speech, the she boss? I can't think straight. It's too late at night. I've had too much beer. Thanks, Mr. Curtin. But why? Why is it BA instead of ZA? Powers of 26. B is 1. Oh, powers of 26. Powers of 26. I was doing better. Oh. Oh. Because you want 1 to the power of 26, which is B. that makes perfect sense. Okay. Yeah, easy. Easy. Okay, I have 4 minutes left. Can I do this? Can I solve this now that I know that we're dealing with powers of 26? Um I can do it. I can do it. But how do okay, but what's the conversion method? You take the decimal number and what? Divide it by 26. That gives you your uh yeah, like 35 divided by 26. Floor it, we have 1. So that means in our ones place we're going to have a B. Modulo? 35 mod 26? Remainder of 9? Yeah, I mean, the other thing we can do is like converting numbers to letters. So if we do the letter A is actually 65. Um, if we want to go the other way, like we have um, I can't think straight. What's the other way to isn't there like a you want to go from number to character? Thank you. From chart code. So like let's say 9 um plus 65 is J. Am I gonna be able to solve this? So if I just do in mod 26 in mod 26 plus 65 um minute left. So that gives us the J, and then the B would come from uh, math dot math dot floor of n divided by 26. Hmm. Did I not get that? Oh well. I couldn't think straight. I think I almost had it. Because this division gives us the first. But does that work, JCOM Gaming? Like, convert it to base 26 and then change the numbers? I guess that would have worked, wouldn't it? Okay. Whale did it in 8 minutes in JavaScript with only 73 characters. Let's see what Whale did. Why do we have a for loop? So we have a for loop. This is the condition that determines if the for loop will repeat. And then R is mod 26, add 65, and then add it to R. R starts off as an empty string. I see. So the for loop runs until x is not divisible by 26. This is basically giving us each digit in the result. I know that much. And this is causing it to repeat the correct number of times. And so we're building up R and then we print it out. This is some like bitwise operator though, right? I don't know. All right, let's see how Adria Manitra did it in 80 characters. A do while loop. So repeatedly divide and take the remainder in the reverse order. Yeah. I'm curious, did anybody do the 2-string 26 and then convert from there? Jeez, this code is hard to read. Jeez, this code is hard to read. Here we go. I would hate reading the code for living. Yeah, it's lucky that we don't have to. Like, this is a very specific exercise where we're trying to write unreadable code. This almost looks like Python with like the do while. There is a semicolon in there, but this is basically the same solution, but with a do while instead of a for loop. They're not necessarily JavaScript only. I chose JavaScript only, so that way everyone in shortest mode has the same stuff to work with. Alka says I don't hate mine. Let's see. Oh, you did. So you did convert it to base 26. And then for every character in the base 26 solution, Get the character code. If it's less than 58, add 17. Otherwise, subtract 22. Okay, so I think like Alka is kind of doing what Jicom Gaming was mentioning. So Jicom Gaming was basically saying convert it to base 26 and then map it so that you take 0, so 0 becomes A, 1 becomes B, etc. But instead of doing it manually, you just change the character code. Because if it's less than two, wait. So base 36 is correct. What was our example number? 35? Not quite. But 0 is char code 48. 9 is char code 57. So that's why we're saying if it's less than 58. So if it is a number, we want to add 17 because 0 plus 17 would give us 65, which is the letter A. So we're basically converting 0 to the letter A here. Cool. Yeah, this is great. I love your solution, Alka. Yeah, so I think that's basically you could map it to a hard-coded map, or if you figure out the math, it's going to be less characters, which is what Alka did. All right. Today was not a successful Clash of Code day. let's solve some code katas now. Let's get back into katas. And I'm going to do a 7Q right here, right now. I'll do most completed katas that I have not trained on. Here we go. This one. All right, I'll send this in the chat. You too can try to solve this problem as I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve it in a straightforward way and also try to explain what I'm doing so that way if you're a beginner programmer, you can kind of follow along. But then after that, we're going to dive in and solve it a bunch of other ways and kind of go beyond more like beginner programming. So here we go. The following code could use a bit of object-oriented artistry. While it's a simple method and works just fine as it is, in a larger system, it's best to organize methods into classes and objects, or at least something similar depending on your language. Refactor the following code so that it belongs to a person, class, object. Each person instance will have a greet method. The person instance should be instantiated with a name so that it no longer has to be passed into each greet method call. Fine. We can do this. OOP propaganda. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's good to learn how to code like this, regardless of if you agree if OOP is a I don't know, a valuable paradigm. Okay, so I'm bringing all of this code down locally, so that way we can solve it in multiple ways. But we have our function. Okay. We then have some of our test cases. This problem has no test cases, so that's unfortunate. but it's telling us that the code should now work like this. So we should create an instance. We should be able to create an instance of Joe, and then if we call joe.greet like this, it should return that. And if we look at the person's name, it should give us back Joe. That's what we're up against here. Okay, so first we need a class. I'm going to do it the newer way with like the class keyword, but then I'm going to show you constructor functions and how you actually don't have to use the class word if you don't want to. But what we need is to make this line of code work is we need a class called person. And then you can see that they're passing in the name here. So that means our constructor needs to take in the name. So this class will have a constructor that takes in the name. And then we need to set the name on the instance. So I can say like this.name is name like that. So now each instance of person will have a property called name that's set to what was passed in the constructor. And then for this line of code to work, we need a method called greet on the class. So the way we do that is we define it like this. And now we can actually move this greet function into the class. Basically like this. But you'll notice greet now only takes in the other person's name. So for my name, we need to access the name that was set on the class. So this becomes this.name. And that should fix the codes. So we have this object. It has a name. It has a greet where you can pass in the name of the person you want to greet. And our code works just fine. So let's see. So yeah, like I said, there's actually no test cases here, so you do have to do an attempt. So yeah, this works, but this is a perfect opportunity to talk about what the class keyword is actually doing. Because in JavaScript, the class keyword is actually just syntactic sugar. Like the class keyword was introduced in 2015, but before that, we could still do stuff like this. We just didn't have the class keyword. So if we want to do this without the class keyword, we do it with a constructor function. So we basically need a function called P person that takes in a name. And you can do the same thing. So you can set instance properties like this. And so now this basically is like our constructor. So this person function is almost the same thing as this constructor. But now if we want a greet method, we put it on the prototype. So you can say P person.prototype.greet. That itself is a function. We can basically copy the implementation here. And inside of here, we can access this.name because this function is going to run in the context of this instance. And so this.name is going to be the name that was passed in there. So this is how we would write the code before the class keyword got introduced. And this should work in the same way. Yeah, it does. Now, you could also define the greet method inside the constructor function. So the prototype here is how we create something that gets shared between instances. So if you're new to OOP, basically what this allows us to do is to create multiple instances of a person. So we have Joe, but we could also create CJ. That's me. My name is CJ. And what's up, Wilm? Glad to see you. But you could say cj.greet Wilm62. It says, hello, Wilm62. My name is CJ. So basically, this constructor function allows us to write code in a way that is reusable, right? So I can have a Joe person, I can have a CJ person, I can create a bunch of other peoples. And what's cool is because we put the greet method on the prototype, this greet method is shared between instances. So whenever we call the greet method here for Joe, it's calling this exact function. And when we call the greet method for CJ, it's calling this exact function. But the one thing that changes is the this keyword. So like, what is the actual instance? And that's really where the this keyword is like used and useful in JavaScript is the fact that it can change. So basically, whenever this greet method is called here, it's called in the context of this instance. So inside of that method, the this keyword is the CJ instance. So the name property here is CJ, but when it's called here, it's Joe. So yeah. Yeah. And what's up, Naven? Yeah. So I have a schedule. I do have a schedule. And that actually made sense. Yeah. So the thing is, it's like when you're trying to explain the this keyword, you need very specific use cases. But that's basically it. Is like it makes it so that this can be anything you want it to be. And I'll show you an example of how we can set it to something completely different. But yeah, I have a stream schedule. This week I'm playing around with streaming in different time zones. So like yesterday I was live in the morning for me, and today it's actually nighttime. It is like 10? Yeah, it's 10:20 for me. But I'll be live again tomorrow in the middle of the day for me, which I don't know. When you go to this website, it's going to be in your time zone. But yeah, we got streams all week. But check this out. So now that we're talking about the this keyword, let me show you how you can actually change it. So one really weird thing we can do is, so you might have heard of call, apply, and bind. So these are things in JavaScript that allow us to change the this keyword. So oh, that's WebAssembly. That's not it. That's not it. It's this one. Calls a function with a given this keyword. So check it out. If I wanted to change, so right now I'm calling greet in the context of CJ, right? So if I just call it normally, inside of that name is going to be CJ. But check this out. If I say call and I pass in a new this value, if I pass in Joe, so now we change the this value to be Joe, and then we can say hi to Zinc Commando here. But what we've done by using this call thing is we're basically telling it what the this keyword should be inside the function. So now instead of being CJ, what it should be, we're actually changing it to Joe. So the result is, hello, Zinc Commando, my name is Joe. So you can actually change the this value by passing in a thing here. And it doesn't even have to be an instance of person. Like we could literally pass in an object with the name property. And now when this function gets called, inside of there, this is going to be that object. And that object's name property is banana. So by doing that, now whenever we call it, it will say, hello, Zinc Commando, my name is banana. So that's the this keyword. Yeah, interesting. And so most of the time these days, you don't really even have to mess with this keyword. We write code that specifically doesn't use the this keyword, so we don't even have to deal with like changing the value of it. So yeah, you typically see this with call, apply, and then bind. Let's see if I can get this right though, because I think apply does the same thing, but we have to pass an array of arguments like that. I think. Yeah. So call and apply are very similar, but apply lets you pass in an array of arguments that get passed to this function. And then bind doesn't invoke it, it just creates a new instance of it. So check this out. We could say the banana greeter is this. We're going to bind the greet function to have this specific this keyword, right? So we're saying we're going to get back a function here where inside of that, the this keyword is that object with that name property. And so now if I invoke it, and we log the result. Hello, wow. My name is Banana. So this basically allows us to create an instance of the function that has a predetermined this value. Yeah. Cool. But all of this code will exactly work with the class keyword, right? So if I comment this out and then we do it like this, all of this works in exactly the same way. So that like the only difference is we can now group things together in the curly braces here in this class. But before the days of the class keyword, we had to do it like this. I think the one other thing that I can show is this is the ideal way of doing it, like putting it on the prototype, which is basically what's happening when you define a class like this. It puts it on the prototype, but you technically don't have to put it on the prototype. You can put it on the this keyword. But that has some implications. So what you can actually do is you can say this dot greet is a function, and the code below will work in the same way. Like everything works in the same way. But now the one implication is every instance of person gets its own copy of the greet function, right? Because every time I call this constructor, you get a brand new greet function. So Joe has their very own greet function, and CJ has their very own greet function. Now, they do exactly the same thing, so we're kind of like wasting memory in a way here because every instance has its own copy. Whereas if you put it on the prototype, then the instances share the same copy of the function. When you do it like this, every instance uses the same one, it just changes this value inside of it, but they all use the same one. If you put it on this, now every instance gets their own, and you can change the this value because it's a function. So yeah, that was an impromptu lesson on classes, constructor functions, the this keyword, call, apply, and bind. The prototype is how we can share functionality like on a class like this. It's also known as like the prototype chain. So essentially when the JavaScript engine reaches this line of code right here, it's like, all right, I'm trying to call the greet method on Joe. It's going to look up the prototype chain and it's going to see, does greet exist at this level, like on this instance? And yes, it does. And so then it's going to call that. But it's possible. This is basically how we can do like method overriding as well. So you can have a class that inherits from some other class, but if it overrides the method, then when the JavaScript engine is like looking for that method to call, it will grab the one from the closest ancestor. If that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking. I think I also I may be a little bit wrong on that as well, but think of this like ancestors and like parents and children. So basically we're putting this method on the parent constructor here. So when any instance calls that method, it gets referenced from that. I'm going to stop talking. I think I'm saying things that are wrong now. Cool. Parent class, subclass. Yeah, that more so gets into like inheritance. Like if you have like one class that inherits the functionality of another class. The prototype chain would be like if a subclass is trying to call a method from a parent class. Yeah. Okay. That was fun. Let's do another one. So we did an 8Q. This was a 7Q. Let's do this 6Q that was submitted by Finder earlier. Are we sure it's actually a 6Q? Who's to say? But we'll give it a try. Wait, was there a user with this username? Prime Ant? Wasn't there somebody in the chat with a very similar name? Never mind. It's a different number. it's a different number. What's up, Steven? Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah. The last thing I'll say about this is that like modern JavaScript just kind of tries to avoid this keyword altogether. So when you start to learn about arrow functions, like this, the one thing about arrow functions is you cannot change their this keyword. So with an arrow function, you can't use call, apply, or bind. There is no way to change the this keyword of an arrow function. The this keyword inside of this arrow function, if you were to use the this keyword, the thing is like you just don't. But if you were to do it, the this keyword inside is the same as the outside. So that's what lexical scoping is. This is lexical, which means the scope, the this keyword inside is the same as the outside. So in modern JavaScript, we use the arrow functions everywhere, so we don't even have to worry about, well, is the this value going to change? We just always know that it is what it is outside. So yeah, we use arrow functions. We just don't worry about the this keyword as much anymore. I'm not using a framework. We're solving problems on Code Wars. So everything I've written so far is kind of just like vanilla JavaScript. All right, a prime ant is an obstinate animal that navigates the integers and divides them until there are only primes left. According to the following procedure, an infinite array or list is initialized to contain all the integers greater than 1. P is the position of the ant on the array or list. Yeah, what does obstinate mean? Tenaciously unwilling or marked by tenacious unwillingness to yield. So this unwilling animal? Have I shared the secrets to looking so good? Beer. Yeah, I think stubborn is a good is a good synonym. Okay. Initially P is 0. So the ant is at A is 0, 2. Okay. At each turn, the ant moves as follows. If P is prime, move the ant one position forward. Otherwise, let Q be the smallest divisor greater than 1. Replace A at P with A at P divided by Q. Replace A at P minus 1 with P minus 1 plus Q. Move the ant one position backward. Your task is just to complete the function that computes the position of the prime ant after in returns. Is Finder, are you still here, Finder the Icewing? I think you're the one that submitted this one. This seems really hard. Are we sure we want to do this? This seems like one where I'm not going to give you multiple solutions. I just have to solve it once, and then that'll be it. I don't think Finder is here anymore. Let's see. If it doesn't have tests, we're going to pick a different one because I want it to at least have some tests. Okay, it does have tests. Okay. I think I can do this. It's really just a matter of implementing the things that it's asking. Like, it literally has given us the pseudocode in a sense. So we're returning like the index, the position that the ant is in after in times. Okay. We'll give it a try. All right. So our function right now is returning undefined. Given in, we need to return the position of the ant. Let's copy all of our steps here and then just implement it. Oh, nice, the Shiba. So maybe this is a pretty common problem. I haven't seen it before, but let's define a variable p. Starts off at 0. So the ant starts off at index 0. And if a at that p is prime, so the array is an array that starts at 2 and goes up to infinity. So I think we can actually we can say the current is just p plus 2, right? Because if p is 0, then the value in the array is 2. If p is 1, then the value in the array is 3, etc. So the current is just p plus 2. So if a at p is prime, move the ant one position forward. I guess the one issue is we need to determine is the current value prime. So like if is prime current, we'll have to implement is prime. Move the ant one position forward. So we'll say p plus equals 1. Otherwise, let q be its smallest divisor greater than 1. Replace a at p with a at p divided by q. Okay, I think the issue now is I actually need an array. But what do I fill the array with? Or do I just start the array off like that? fill it up to n. And what's up, Rogue Soul? Welcome in. The issue is, n is the number of iterations. It's not the index in the array. But I guess that's the maximum possible index in the array? Maybe you're right. Let's just do that. Couldn't hurt, right? So I'm going to create an array of length n, where every value in the array so, well, not every value, but it's I plus 2. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Moomy. It's like, do we need to build the array? But then I can't think through how we would do this without already having the array. I mean, we could do this dynamically as we go. But this should give us an array that starts at 2 and goes up to n. Okay. Now we need an isPrime function. I'm gonna look that up. I don't want to implement it myself. The way that I've implemented it before is like brute force. I know there is a very specific algorithm. Isn't it called like the something sieve or something like that? Erasthenes? Here's the thing. Is this the best possible isPrime function? I don't think it is. It is the top Stack Overflow answer, but I think there's a better isPrime function, isn't there? Doesn't matter. We have an isPrime function now. Okay, so now we have Q, which is going to be the smallest divisor greater than 1. So do we have to find Q? So we'll say while let Q be whose smallest divisor? Oh, of A of P. Okay. So while A of P mod Q does not equal 0. Q plus plus. So we'll do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. until we find the smallest divisor. Because if it's divisible by 2, then it won't even do the while loop, right? Okay, so we found the smallest divisor. Now we say replace A at P with A at P divided by Q. Replace A at P minus 1 with A at P minus 1 plus Q. Move the ant 1 position backward. So we do P minus minus. Okay. So we have the logic. Now it's a matter of number of iterations. Complete the function that computes the position of the prime ant after n turns. So we'll say let count equal 0 while count is less than n. Do the thing. On each iteration, count gets incremented, and then after it all, we return the current value of p. Like where is the ant? We did it. I can't believe we did it. This is one of those problems where, I mean, they basically give you the entire pseudocode. They basically tell you what you need to do. It's really just a matter of trying to interpret what they're asking you to do. But it looks like we've done it. Let me plug my code into Code Wars and see if we get back. First of all, I think the one thing I might be worried about is if it doesn't pass the stuff fast enough. Like, it could be that we need to optimize our solution. We don't need to optimize our solution. It just works. It just works. Cool. What's up, Fun Planet? There's a more difficult version of the same problem where the test cases get bigger. Yeah, and that is where things get more complex because we have to worry about runtime and memory. Like this right here, we couldn't do this if the test cases got much bigger because we would be allocating gigantic arrays, which just wouldn't cut it. So we'd have to figure out a way to do it without that. Cool. So I don't think Finder is even here anymore, but we did solve the one that they suggested. I've only got about 20 minutes left, so let's just end the stream with a clash of code. And I'll go ahead and push up my solutions if you'd like to look at them. Can you allocate one array for every iteration? I see what you're asking. There's absolutely a way to optimize it, right? Because all of these calculations are like they're always the same. It's just a matter of the next time the function gets called, we want a different number of iterations. So you're completely right. That would get like the other ways to optimize this would be like with memoization. So that way, like the next time we call the function, we've already like pre-computed up to a certain value of n, so we don't have to recompute it again. That would definitely be one of the optimizations that we could use. Is because basically, like we're overwriting a here, right? Like we're replacing the values inside the array. So we're basically calculating, like we could probably calculate up to a really big number, and then every time the function is called, just return the value in the array. Right? I guess no, because then we need to know like what the. There's definitely a way to optimize it. We could keep track of like where p is given a certain n. Yeah, for sure. And what's up, Ezrab, who says enjoyed my latest video? I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna try to make more like it. Yeah, that's the other thing is keeping. Another optimization is keeping track of what is prime and what is not, so you don't have to calculate that every time. What was this one called? Prime ant. wait. There's a regular expression to determine if a number is prime? That does not seem okay. I should do beer-fueled late-night streams more often. Maybe I'll do like one a week. I'm not opposed to it. Yeah. And that's mainly why I'm doing this is so like people in different time zones can tune in who don't normally don't get to tune in. But that makes sense as well. People that normally are working would be able to tune in now. Mm. But here we go. Here's all my solutions from tonight if you want to take a look at them. All right, we're gonna try one more Clash of Code. We've been really I feel like we've been really unlucky today with Clash of Code. Like they've all been really hard. Uh, but I don't know. Let's try honestly. Let's try to get a few reps in. So let's do uh, reverse mode, and then after like at least 4 or 5 people have solved it, I'll try to do like one or two more. But reverse mode is also fastest mode, but they don't give you a problem description. They literally just give you inputs and outputs, and you need to figure out what code to write based on those inputs and outputs. Let's do it. Regular expression to check for prime numbers. Fascinating. I don't like it. I do not like it. That does not seem right. Maybe by halting when in is non-prime. So yeah, what happens when it is prime? Yeah, I don't know. You're in. Great. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, we're about to do a clash. Um, it's going to be reverse mode, so there is no problem description. We're going to see inputs and outputs, and we have to write the code that makes the inputs and outputs work. And we're all going to be dropped into the same lobby, the same problem. We have 15 minutes to solve it. Let's go. Let's hope it's not super difficult. Here we go. All right. When the input is 1, the output is 1. When the input is 1, 0, the output is a bunch of stuff. Is it 1 through 10 10 times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is. So this would be 1 through 12 12 times, and then 1 through 6 6 times. Okay. Um, First, we should build up a string that is 1 through the number. So if I do, I think I can do this. If I do array from, give it a length in, that's going to give us an array of the length, well, like up to the number. But for each one, we want it to be, we want it to start at 1. Okay, so this is going to give us an array of all the numbers from 1 up until n. And then we can join that all together into a single string. And then we need to repeat that n times. Done. Yeah, done. That was so easy compared to all of the other ones that we've done tonight. I will say though, if you haven't solved it, if you haven't solved it yet, keep trying, keep trying. I think it's tricky when there are people of so many backgrounds and also different uh, at different places in their programming journey, right? I've been programming for over 15 years, and so a problem like this is fairly straightforward for me. If you're new to programming, it could take you 30 minutes to solve this problem, and that's okay. That's completely okay. I don't want to dissuade you from learning to program or make you or you shouldn't feel bad if you can't solve it that quickly. I'm craving coffee, but it's midnight. What to do? Decaf? Is that a thing? I don't drink coffee, so I don't know. You could get decaf delivered, right? Maybe. Okay. Um, what's up, webmage? Welcome in. I will. What if you can't solve it at all? You got to start somewhere. So, my suggestion is start on Code Wars, but start at the simplest problems and solve every single one of them because really all of this comes down to like practice and iterations. Like the reason I was able to solve that so quickly is because I've done very similar problems before many times. I have the practice. So like for example on Code Wars, you can filter by difficulty. So if you choose 8Q, these are some of the easiest on the site. Um, and again, if you're new to Code Wars, let me tell you how to filter. So filter by either most completed or positive feedback. The issue on Code Wars is these are user submitted problems, so it's possible that they have bad descriptions or they have bad test cases. So I like to choose most completed, and then choose 8Q, which is the easiest difficulty. Make sure you can solve, like these are some of the simplest problems. Make sure that you can solve these. Like it's really just taking it step by step. Because if you immediately try to jump into one of the most hardest problems, it's not going to go very well. So really my suggestion is like start small, make sure you can solve the easier ones and then kind of like build your way up. I would say the one that we just solved is probably a 6Q between like a 7 and a 6Q. So I would say like if you can solve these, you should likely be able to solve the one that we just did. Um, but yeah, when should you start solving problems? It's just one piece of learning to program because uh, when you get a job as a software developer, you're not really doing stuff like this all day. like it's as a full stack web developer, it is not my job to solve problems dealing with prime numbers and stuff like that. These are fun little exercises. Think of these almost like word problems that you used to get like in math class in like maybe like middle school. Um, but the reason that they're useful is like is you practice aspects of programming kind of like in isolation, and you also start to learn to like recognize patterns. So that way, when you're building a website and you have to manage or iterate over some data, you can pull from your experience of like solving one of these problems in a more like real world situation. Um, but all of that said, I would say this should be one of the things that you practice doing when you're learning to program. Like this shouldn't be all you do. This should be one of the things because this is a very different skill set than building a front end website or building a back end API. This is just one type of programming that is good to practice, but it shouldn't be everything, if that makes sense. But yeah, I have a computer science degree. Well, welcome in, Booty. It says, I hate coding, but Twitch is recommending coding streams. Well, I'm glad you made it over. Um, yeah. On Code Wars, you write a function to solve it, but how do you get the input in the function? Uh, if you look, so let's just look at this example. they will show you test cases. So in the test cases down here, you can see what the input and like expected output is. This isn't a good example because they kind of like wrap it in their own function. Let's see. Yeah, this is better. So down here, you can see they're calling your function with a value, and then they're expecting the result to be this value. So these are the example inputs, but the input to the function is actually like the argument to the function there. This is set status. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's like, but honestly, that's another thing that requires practice. Is basically given a problem description, can you interpret it in a way that you understand it and can solve it? Because that's part of the problem, right? Is literally just understanding what the problem statement is. Like, so we had an example earlier where we were doing a clash of code. It literally took me like almost 10 minutes just to understand what the problem was asking before I could write the code. And then like I'm completely capable of writing the code, but part of the problem is just like understanding what they're asking for. And like that has parallels to the real world of software development where like a client asks you for a specific feature and you need to be able to clearly understand what they're asking for and be in order to be able to implement it, that kind of thing. But yeah. Yeah. Show the code. All right, all right. We'll look at the solutions now. Is it possible to land a junior dev job without a degree? Yeah, absolutely. It's harder because you have to basically prove yourself. You have to build side projects, have a portfolio. But it's possible. Most of your work will be cleaning up other people's codes. Yeah. Yeah. Nice freedom. Yeah. I imagine coding game problem statements are actually good compared to what you get from real world clients. Yeah, I think that's the thing is a lot of the, well, like coding game and then also Code Wars, these problem descriptions get iterated on because people can give feedback. So over time, they get better. But yeah. Okay, let's look at Wells' solution in Ruby. What were we even solving? Oh, yeah. So given a number, you need to output a string that counts from 1 up to that number and then repeats that string in times or number times. Look what Ruby can do. So to create a range or a list from 1 up until that number, that's what this little line of code does. And then if we want to repeat it in times, we just multiply the array times n, and that repeats the array that many times. And then we coerce it to a string by multiplying it. I mean, multiply is probably the wrong word, but this is the like multiplication operator. Ruby is crazy, right? Ruby is insane. All right, let's see how Alka did it. JavaScript. In Haskell, you don't even need to build. You don't even need star to build the list. Yeah. Oh, I see. That makes sense. So basically, repeat it in times and then join each of them together on an empty string. Fascinating. All right. Alka did it with JavaScript. Yeah. Yeah. So the way that I solved it was with, like, I built up the array automatically. So array.from is a way to build up an array. You can pass in an array-like object, and then this function is like the map function. So basically, this line of code creates an array that goes from 1 up until the number. There's no built-in way to create an array that has a range of numbers in JavaScript. This is kind of like the smallest amount of code required to do that. But Alka just did it with a for loop, which is totally fine. So in the for loop, you go from 1 up to n, and then just put those numbers onto a string, and then the repeat function is built into JavaScript. So that's built into strings. We can say repeat a string a certain number of times. All right, Fun Planet did it with Python. Yeah, so Python has ranges, which will just like count up to a number. So for I in range, j in range, print j plus 1. Yeah, so in times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then do it again. Yeah. Is Code Wars friendly to total beginners? I mean, can I start solving problems after I just learned a programming language, or do I need more experience? Possibly. So if you look in their filters, they have, I think, a filter for like fundamentals. So, for example, let's just do most completed, and then difficulty 8Q. So 8Q is going to be the absolute easiest. And then under tags, I think we can find a tag for like, yeah, fundamentals. And so like typically those are the fundamentals of whatever programming language you're trying to solve them in. So for example, like this is a super simple one that says this code does not execute properly. Fix it. And so for this, and I don't know, Inspector, do you know JavaScript, or like what's the programming language that you're trying to learn right now? Because they have a lot. But basically, if you can, yeah. So if you've been learning JavaScript, can you solve this? Like, do you know how do we fix this function? This function is not executing properly. This function is returning undefined. How do we fix it? What's missing? Do I prefer Code Wars over Leak Code? I think Code Wars is better for learning, and also it seems easier to find like simple problem. Like you're not gonna find a problem like this on Leak Code, right? It feels like Leak Code goes from like 0 to 60 like really quick. So I like Code Wars because it's better for teaching, because it's like simpler stuff. Yeah, return keyword, you got it. Look at you solving Code Wars, code katas. Come on. So yeah, the thing is about Code Wars is like they get this simple, right? So like if you start with fundamentals, make sure you can solve those. You can move on from there, and then you might do things like practice with arrays or practice with objects. Like you can try to filter down to, and probably like strings and stuff like that. So yeah, Code Wars gets very simple, but it makes it easier to kind of like build yourself up and make sure you have the basics. Yo, what's up, Leechy? I'm gonna end very soon though, because we've been live for about 3 hours. I gotta get to bed. But I will be live tomorrow. Let's see. Amazingly SK's Python solution. We'll do one more reverse mode. How about that? We'll do one more reverse Clash of Code. Yeah, and then they did it very similar, so just like a nested loop. And then you have my solution. Create the array, repeat it. All right. Let's do one more Clash of Code. We're going to do reverse mode. Here we go. Exclamation mark pronouns will give you the list. It should anyways. There it is. I don't know why Streamlabs is so behind today. Oh, is it what pronouns? I thought it was just pronouns. But then you have to do singular, so pronoun like that. And then that will set it. Yeah. Oh, I didn't share the link. So we're doing reverse mode again. Maybe it will be as easy as the last one. Pretty sure it was what pronouns? Okay. I guess it's been so long since I've yeah, you're right. It is what pronouns. Alka just did it. I look tired. Well, uh it's past 11 p.m. Gotta get to bed. Gotta get to bed. I think there's an issue with non-trusted users, and it's not that I don't trust you, Dakugan, but Dakugan, um, but my overlay, if you're not following, it doesn't want to let you embed images just to be on the safe side. I know that you're not embedding an image; it's just a pronoun, but yeah, yeah. Glad to hear it. Like Lychee, congrats. My Europe trip was fun. I really did enjoy Amsterdam. The just seeing the bike culture was really cool, and all of the public transportation was really nice. It's a cool city for sure. There's a French YouTuber, Benjamin Code, that does Vanilla JS that tries to do a notation star in less than 1 hour. Did I try this challenge? No, I don't know what that is. Let's look him up. Ben, Benjamin Code? Is this them? What does notation star mean? Normally I watch Big Bang Theory to fall asleep, but tonight I'm watching your stream. Well, sorry to hear that, the Shivas. Well, we're gonna end stream. We're gonna end soon, though. Yeah, I appreciate that, the real droid. Come to New York. I've lived in New York before. What's up, Oscar? How you doing? Oh, weird. It's a challenge on Twitter. Okay, yeah, we need to just start. Here we go. Come on. So in reverse mode, there's no problem description. We have inputs, expected outputs. Here we go. I think we have to sort them by number. So I would expect Lucky Luke, then Butch Cassidy, Emmett Dalton, and then Jesse James. We ignore ones which have negative numbers. So this should be Blondie and then Angel Eyes. Should output none if it's 0. Okay, I can do this. Um, okay, so we get the person on the line. We're gonna split that on a space, and um, their value is the last one, so parts.pop, or let's call it rank, I guess. And then the name is parts.join back together, like this. So we will have the people. It's going to be an array, and then we're going to push in a person. We're going to push in their name and rank, like that. But we're only going to push them in if their rank is greater than 0. Greater than or equal to 0? Or just greater than 0? No. Okay, so that grabs the people. And then we want to sort them from least to greatest. So we'll do a dot rank minus b dot rank. So now people is sorted. And then we want to log each one out. So people for each person. we'll log the person.name. But if people.length is 0, then we just want to log none. Else we do all this other stuff. Like that. All right, that passed all the test cases, but what I'm worried about is this. They don't give us a test case where it's equal to 0. Yeah. All right, you did greater than or equal. That's what I'll do as well. Well. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Cool. Look at that. I only took 2 minutes longer than whale. It's pretty good. How was it when I lived in New York? It was cool. I think I would never live there permanently, just because it's there's just so many people and it's expensive and it's a lot. It's a lot to live in New York, but it's definitely fun to visit. I will definitely visit again at some point. Um, but yeah, the amount of people, the cost of living, it's a lot. All right, let's see how well did it in Ruby. Um, what? Star X Y. Is this like the rest operator? You've been in New York for 27 years and counting. That's awesome. So yeah, when I lived there, I lived in Kips Bay. Let me show you on a map where I lived. Yeah, I was in Manhattan. But I mean, back in the day, I used to live in New Jersey. So I lived in this general area, and I was about like 45 minutes to an hour away from New York. So I lived in New Jersey for about 3 years, and I would go to New York most weekends. Go to Williamsburg, Coney Island. I went all over. Um, but then probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I lived in Manhattan for about 3 months. Yeah, so 5 or 6 years ago, I was working at a code school and I did a 3 month thing in New York. But I was living over here, in Kips Bay, this general area. I lived here, and then I worked over here in Chelsea. I think. Did I? No, maybe not. Maybe it was a little bit further south. Oh, you meant did I commute from New York to New York from New Jersey? Oh no no no. So I worked in New Jersey and lived in New Jersey, um, at that time, and then more recently when I lived in Manhattan, I was working in Manhattan as well. What was living in Manhattan like? Um, it's like being in a movie basically. So many movies are based in New York City. Um, so I would take the subway to get to work, and then I would walk from the subway probably like um a quarter mile to get to my job. Um, I loved just like walking everywhere. That was awesome. The food is awesome. You visited New York in October and it was fun. Nice. Um, but yeah, like just living in a big city, it's just like it's everything is everything is everything. It's like it's just overwhelming of like the amount of people, the amount of cars, the amount of restaurants, the amount of things to do. It's just like everything. Like New York is really kind of like the center of the world. Like everything happens in New York. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing about like traveling artists, like musicians and stuff like that. Like every musician comes through New York City, right? So like if you live in this area, you have the opportunity to see like almost any musician live if you really want to. Um, yeah, yeah. A lot of people, it's like it's their dream to like move to New York City and stuff like that. What would I do in a new city to make new friends? I'm not good at that. Like, I mean, usually the friends I have are like the people that I work with. I'm not good at meeting new friends. So when I lived in New Jersey, I would actually go to the New York City Reddit meetup. So I went to that meetup probably like 3 or 4 times. Like sometimes they had a board game meetup. Um, that was fascinating. It ended up just being a person's house, I think somewhere in Brooklyn, and we all just played board games. And then one time there was a Reddit meetup in Central Park. And another time there's like a Reddit meetup at like a bar. So I did that, but like I don't know, I'm not really good at meeting new people or making friends. Yeah. Hmm. Uh Seems depressive, stinky, and overall pretty grimy. Yeah, I mean I think that's the thing is like if you're living there, you're experiencing that on a daily basis. I would absolutely go back and visit again. Like I also just like the walkability and like how the subway can pretty much take you anywhere. Central Park is really cool. I spent a lot of time just exploring Central Park. Um, and then I also skateboard. So just like skateboarding through the streets is super fun as well. I think one of the things about it is like it just kind of feels like you're in a movie because like so many movies take place in New York City. So like being there makes you feel like you're kind of like in one. I don't know. I don't know. No, I'm not good at chess. I walked by those chess tables in various parts of the city. But I'm not good enough to play. No, I gotta get out of here. I can't do another one. But are you still here, Will? If I had to guess, star X is like the rest operator. So like Y is the last value in the split, and then star X says take everything else and put it into that variable. Is that what that means? Because that's really handy if it is. That's fascinating. Because you saw the way that I had to do it, like, it's very roundabout, right? I had to uh, split the whole thing, take the last one, and then join the first parts back together. I guess technically, could I have done the. No, I couldn't have done the rest operator because I want the last one. Like, JavaScript has a way of saying take the rest of the array and put it into a variable. It doesn't have a way of saying take the beginning of the array, put it into variable, and take the last one. I don't think, anyways. So that's cool. Um, what is this problem even? I forgot what this problem was even doing. Oh yeah, so we have the people we're ranking and then sorting them. Um, so if their rank is greater than 0, put them into the ranked array. Yeah, put them into the ranked array. And you're doing like a tuple. So it's like the person's name and their rank. Um, and then you're doing sort. Wait, what? So you're sorting by the second value in the tuple. Tuple? This underscore 2, does that reference the second value in the tuple? That's weird. Fascinating. Like Ruby is its own thing. And so it's an array, not a tuple. Okay, so it's an array of arrays. Um, but underscore 2 is the second value in the array. Jeez. Yeah. Hey, no worries, Jason. Yeah, get some rest. Go do some Code Wars tomorrow. Welcome in, Acosta Leandro. Thank you for the raid. I was actually gonna leave soon, but we'll do one more Clash of Code just because we got some raiders that came in. But thank you very much for that raid. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that shout out. I'll drop a follow. What were you working on? So reacts JetBrains? Cool. But welcome in, Raiders. We are playing Clash of Code, which is a game where we all try to solve the same problem as fast as possible. Here we go. Let's do one more. We'll do reverse. Reverse mode has been very nice to us, so we're gonna do reverse mode again. But basically, we're given inputs and outputs, and we have to figure out what code to write based on those inputs and outputs. Reacting to tech videos, nice. But the rest of the answers, you're right. When you're right, you're right. Can't I still view it though? Yeah. Oh, can I not? Did it go away? Is it not possible to view an old leaderboard? Oh no! Oh, I have to look at the report. Okay. Did I not look at Alka's solution? All right. Read the line in. I like this. I thought about doing that. I was like, yeah, find the last space and then grab the number to the right of it. I ended up just splitting the whole thing on a space though. Yeah, why did they call this variable Desperado? I don't understand the reference. Like it was a bunch of famous people names. Okay. Yeah, and so like I made an object with name and rank. You have an array of arrays, very similar to the Ruby solution that we saw, where it was an array of arrays. And then get rid of anyone who doesn't have a valid rank. Sort it. Log them out. What's up, Mark? Good job, Alka. JavaScript doesn't have right partition. I don't know what right partition does, so I guess not. We do have slice, so slice will let you take a section of an array. So you just pass in indices like start and end index. What does R partition do? It splits once on the last match. Oh. I see. So if you did R partition space, you would get back an array that would have the name, a space, and then the number. Cool. Cool. Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. Andrea Manitra did it with Haskell. All right. Um, um, this is an alien, a foreign language to me. Unwords? What is happening? I can't even decipher this because I'm trying to figure out, okay, where in the code are we like extracting their rank and their name? Unwords is an inverse operation to words. It joins words with separating spaces. Yeah, I don't know. Perfect sense. All right, let's do this last one, and then I gotta get out of here. Okay. We've got inputs. We've got outputs. Do we want even numbers? Odd numbers are true? Odd numbers are false. Even numbers are true. I think that's what we want. Third place. I made it on the podium. Whew. Yeah, that was an easy one. So, how does Ruby do it? Yeah, so if it's even, print it. That's cool that Ruby has is even built in. JavaScript does not have that. In 10 seconds flat. Fun Planet did it with Python. If it's even, print true. If it's not, print false. Nice. And then I just print whether or not it's even. Alka also prints whether or not it's even. What's up, DWMLR Jr.? Glad to see you. We're gonna be ending pretty soon, but it's good to see you. Yeah. All right. For a problem like this, we should be able to understand the Haskell code, right? No. I think the issue with trying to read this Haskell code is there's also the part that like reads the input, and I don't know what that does, which part of that is. I think unlines is like reading the input, and then for every line of input, we're passing it through the check odd function. The fact that there's like an even operator is fascinating to me. And I guess, is this known as like pattern matching? Are we pattern matching on like, is X even? Huh. I don't think this is an if. I think this is like part of pattern matching. Interact is a function that takes a function from string to string and makes it something that interacts with standard in and standard out. So yeah, I'm guessing that, yeah, that's how we are reading input to be able to operate on it. And I mean, I do know that in a lot of functional programming languages, you're basically operating on lists. So it's like you have a list of input lines, and then you're running your function through each line. So you use a map to run every line through your function. Yeah. DMW or DWM says I'm not good at coding. The only thing I can code is a game in JDoodle. No worries. We're all about improvement here and trying to be our best selves. So just keep at it. Just keep at it. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. This was a fun one. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us this evening. It was a good time. Here's all my stuff. Follow me over on YouTube. I've got a main channel and then also an archive channel that has all the VODs. I posted this video recently. I'm pretty proud of it. And I'd appreciate it if you gave it a watch. It's just me in the wilderness answering some, or talking about code, answering some code questions. So check that out. Follow me on Twitter. We do have a Discord if you want to check that out. And then also take a look at the schedule. So I'll be live tomorrow. It'll be the middle of the day for me, but if you go to this link, you'll see the calendar in your time zone. This. eventually. This will pop up. It should be in your time zone. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Also, I have a mailing list. So if you want to get go live notifications or weekly updates, sign up on the mailing list. Mostly use, what do you use Haskell for? For the challenge and street creds, yeah. There are some useful things you can do with Haskell, right? But yeah, you all are great. I appreciate you all. This was a fun one. And I'll see you tomorrow. So wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Until next time, here's this.